Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Donna Fiesel, and I'm your host of Donna's Edge Talk Show, where truth matters. Thank you so much for watching every day, Monday through Friday from 1 to 3 p.m. Central, as I get to ride home with you in the afternoon. You know, you can find us on the radio, icradio.media. You can also find us on television, channel 182 on Charter Communications. That's up in North Alabama. But then if you want to spread out and see us farther, you can go to Abundance Television, which is found on Roku, Apple TV, and Amazon Fire. You know, you can also find us on all the social media sites. We still do Facebook Live, and they don't kick me off, Robin. You can also find us on YouTube, all of the wonderful social media sites out there. X, I'm still trying to get used to calling it X instead of Twitter. I'm still having an issue with that.
Yeah, I hadn't even tried. It's just whatever comes out of my mouth.
Yeah, just whatever. Robin Litaker is with us right now, and she's running for Congress. And what's the district you're running for Congress in?
Congressional District 7. It's currently the only district in Alabama that's the office is held by a Democrat, and we're going to change that this year.
Well, there's a lot of reasons to change that, and I think people are finally seeing things as they are. And I don't want to put the person that you're running against now, but what I'm trying to say is she is part of the squad. And I think we've all seen the squad in action and what they can do to an area. I mean, you are, and I want to get into your background in why that I think this would be a good fit for you, and also to the citizens in your area. I think they would definitely benefit. So let's talk about your background.
Okay, I come from a fairly average family. I have a sister that has cerebral palsy that really has impacted the kind of person I am, probably more than anything in my life. She lives in Montgomery in a home, and I'm her primary person now that both my parents are gone. But my mama always said that Susan was a gift from God, and God only chooses special families to have children like Susan. And the life lessons that I learned growing up, like one time my mom was going to take my brother and my sister and I to a movie. And that was back when, you dressed up to go anywhere downtown. And we got all dressed up. And it was a pretty big ordeal getting her in the car. She had braces, so her legs were pretty straight out most of the time. And so we got her in the car, got the wheelchair in the car, drove downtown, got out of the car, got the wheelchair out of the car, got Susan out of the car. You understand the routine. And we got in line. It was, I don't know what the movie was. It was something you had to stand in a long line for. And after a while, this guy came out of the movie theater, and he walked up to my mama and he said, "She can't come in here." That's how he talked about my sister. "She can't come in here." And my mother said, "Why?" And he said, her wheelchair would block the aisles, and that's fire code. And my mom went, oh, that's okay. We can take her out and set her in a chair. And he said, "No, her legs will block the aisles, so you can't bring her in here." And, like Susan wasn't sitting there and couldn't hear what the man was saying.
Yeah.
And my mama had a rule. If it happened to Susan, it happened to all of us.
Right.
So we all got out of line and went to the car, packed her up, and went home. And there were things like that were kind of tough life lessons. And, I'm sure my brother and I cried or whatever, but those are the kind of things I look back on now, and I'm really glad it happened. And I'm glad it happened to me. I mean, one time I had her in a mall, and I had this old man walk up to me, and he said, "Why would you bring somebody like that out in public?"
Oh my goodness.
I know, but the thing is, as absurd as that sounds, there are people that are like that. And I don't remember, what I said to him, because I also remember as when I was really little and they didn't have wheelchairs, that fit kids, and I was rolling her. She was real little, but I'm rolling her around in her wheelchair. And, I would remember walking by people and they would look, and, and some people would, kind of, this was a pretty long time ago. People are more accepting now, but you know who I thought they were looking at?
You.
Me. I didn't, because Susan is our normal. But, so what does that have to do with me running for office? I think it has, when I was a teacher, a principal, gave me a lot of empathy. The difference between having empathy and feeling sorry for somebody. It made me where I'm able to put myself in someone else's place. And, so I'm a former Alabama State Teacher of the Year. I'm a retired teacher, principal. And I always thought I got to be State Teacher of the Year because I was able to put myself in other people's places and work with kids the way that I did. But anyway, that's a little background on me.
Something you really touched on, something really important. And I think a lot of people just don't have that, where the empathy part right there. And the Bible even talks about that. It says that a person of understanding, you can understand situations in life more if you could sit where someone else has been sitting. And you've done that. You've done that all your entire life.
Yeah. And, we're all, I'm a Christian and I read the Bible every morning and I go through it over and over and over. But we're all sinners. And I try to walk the way that Jesus expects us to walk and love my neighbor. And I'm going to tell you, this position that I'm running for Congress, this district is one of the most impoverished districts in this country. It is the most impoverished district in Alabama. And there are things going on in these counties that we're not told about, that you don't hear on the news, that it's like Sumter, Greene County. The World Health Organization back in 2017 declared it like a third world country because of the sewage and water issues. People don't have running water. They have sewage running on the ground. And I had somebody say, "You mean they don't have septic tanks?" And I'm like, "Oh no, you don't understand. It just runs on the ground." And that's happening in 2024. And yes, that's happening in Alabama. And, I saw not too long ago where the governor and Terry Sewell and a bunch of the big important people were doing $400 and something million for broadband. And I'm not saying broadband's not important for the Black Belt, but if you can't flush a toilet, what's going on? Where are the priorities? And people, like one night I had two veterans come up to me and they said they had been trying to contact her repeatedly and they're having problems with their Social Security. And I started looking into it, and there is a hidden, what I'm going to call hidden tax for Social Security. And what was happening to these two gentlemen is that at the end of the year, when they filed their taxes, they were having to pay over $2,000. Now, yeah, that may not sound like a lot of money to some people. It is to me.
Well, to some people, it's everything.
Yeah, but these guys are on a fixed income, and they've called. Good luck if you call that congressional office, getting anyone to answer the phone. But they have called. They've gone to town halls. You're not allowed to speak at a town hall unless you have permission ahead of time. And, that's just not the way it should be. I mean, if you ever notice, the further away elected officials get from us, the least likely they are to respond to anything. And see, that's what, with my background and the kind of person I am, that's just not going to happen. One of the things I'm really looking forward to is the plan for setting up the congressional office so that people can get in touch with us. So if I need to talk to somebody that, if it's not something that can be fixed in state, if I ever told you the story about my daddy calling our senator when I was growing up, have I ever told you that story?
Yeah, but I want you to repeat that. That's a very interesting story.
Yeah. Okay. Back in the early 70s, when they were doing handicap license plates for my mom and dad were sitting around. They said, that sure would be nice to have one of those for Susan. It would just, make it easier. So my daddy went down to the motor vehicle office. And when he came back, he said they wouldn't give it to me. The way the law had passed was Susan had to be able to sign the form. Well, my sister is very drawn up with her cerebral palsy, and she couldn't sign her name. So my daddy sat down and he said, well, I guess that's that. And he sat there a while and he started getting a little agitated. He said, I'm going to call the senator. I'm calling Washington. So he got on the phone, and a young lady, somebody did answer the phone. Young lady answered the phone, and he told her the entire story about how, somebody in Susan's condition would not be able to sign their names. And anyway, he hung up the phone, and he sat down, and he said, well, I guess that's that. He just thought, nothing would come of it. And I don't know what time period went by, but the phone rang, and one day, and my mom answered it. That was back when the phone was on the wall, and we all heard everything. That's what's wrong with the world now, right? But anyway, my daddy got on the phone, and it was the senator. He called him up, and my daddy was a World War II vet, and I remember he stood kind of in attention. He was going, yes, sir, yes, sir, and he kept telling him the whole story. And when he got off the phone, he sat down, and and I had never seen my daddy cry. It makes me cry almost every time I tell a story. He sat down, and he started crying, and he said, he's going to fix it. He said, and I'll never forget, he said, I'm nobody. He called us up, and I'm nobody. And, the thing is, nobody should feel that way.
Right.
I mean, when you're elected to an office, you're elected to work for people. Just like anywhere you work. You're not. Is that you, me? You're not.
Hold on just a second. Phil, will you take this call? Yeah.
You're not elected to be put above anyone else. And if you can't take the time to talk to people, then what good are you? What good are you? How do you know what's really going on? And just the year that I've traveled around, I have met some of the most amazing people. I have seen some of the saddest things I've ever seen. I mean, like in York, they don't even have a grocery store in York.
Well, what do they do? I mean, because if you don't have a garden, or if you're not, you just have to travel outside the area.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, can you imagine? Oh, I need a gallon of milk. Let me drive 20 miles to get it.
Yeah.
Now they'll have a Dollar General or something, but I'm talking about a real grocery store. Now, I will tell you, the people in the Black Belt are very resilient. I've met three people that have started trade schools. They're getting no federal help at all. And that's another thing. These people don't want a handout. They just want a level playing field. They want to be able, one of the biggest complaints that people have is that their kids grow up and move out of Marengo County, Hale County, Choctaw. They want them to stay home. And, so what these people are doing with these trade schools, they have programs like CDL programs. And, because trucking is huge in the Black Belt. And the one down in Choctaw County, they have a truck, and they need another one, but I got to sit in it. It's big. But anyway, she started that program. There's a man up in Sumter County that has, they have a CDL program. He has bought the old Sumter High School, and he's getting help from the Veterans Administration, not from Congress. And they are actually growing gardens and teaching kids how to grow their own food.
That's amazing.
Yeah, and in the high school, I'm sorry I'm not explaining this very well, but in the high school, they're going to have a grocery store. And they're also going to have an area for people who are in need, that they need help with food, not to bag food up for them, but to let them come in and pick what they need. They're going to start like a slaughterhouse and teach kids how to, process meat, fish. This man and these other two women, they have this vision for saving their counties and their communities. And, federal money can't do everything, but one of the ways that I want to operate in setting up the congressional district is to have people who can actually write the grants. Now, you hear of them giving federal grants, like Terry Sewell gave a federal grant to Birmingham City Schools a few weeks ago. It was $1 million for a behavioral program that's been around since the 80s. And it was part of a $64 million judicial, the Justice Department gave. And I'm like, number 2 in the nation in crime, and that's all you could do. But besides that, a $1 million program for high school seniors without the structure in place to address the big problem,
Well, let me ask you a question, because this is what I'm seeing from the outside looking in. Okay, and I see this, and I see it in a lot of areas, but it looks like in yours, it's really, really, because you're Democrat run right now. That's all I know to say. I have to be honest, and be truthful about this. So what I'm seeing is the money can be there, but it's being spent on stupid stuff. Can I just be that vagrant about it?
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
I mean, I don't know anything else to say. I just believe in telling the truth. So what could be helping people to maybe even bring industry in and to teach, education is huge. And I'm going to tell you what, some of the best jobs out there are the ones where you work with your hands. Those are the
Yes.
best paying ones. You don't have the college debt behind you. You can have a career for the rest of your life. And there's a man I'm thinking about right now. And my dad was one of them. My dad worked with his hands. So he starts out with a company. And then, of course, he winds up getting in management with them and what have you. But what he could do, what anybody could do, you could start your own business. You can retire from it. You can be on retainer after you retire. And companies will actually call on you to train their employees. So I know a man right now that lives in Fife, Alabama. That's what he does. When his wife wants to take a nice trip, he'll call around some of the companies and say, can I train some of your employees? And that's how they take the trips. Because it's a commitment. It'll stay with you forever. But this is the problem, is it seems as if money, I mean, I've heard about the person who's in office right now, the elaborate trips and what have you. I've heard about all this. Mm-hmm. Couldn't that be money spent very well in the district? I mean, you got to have, so when you go on a trip and you're in Congress, you don't want to stay at the Roach Motel. But isn't some overspending going on there somehow?
Oh, yeah. Like a few years ago, I read in the paper Congress was going on break. And see, to me, there is no break. You're getting paid $179,000 a year. When Congress goes on break, you need to go home and work. You need to sit down and talk with people.
And that's who voted you in.
Yeah, that's where we're finding our best ideas for moving forward. And I'm being contacted by people. But anyway, a few years ago, Nancy Pelosi and the squad, which includes the person I'm running against, they flew to Greece to do some type of governmental something. But while they were over there, they drank expensive bottles of wine. They went to expensive restaurants. They went to, I think I told you one time, this is jumping to something else, but I looked on the budgets, and Terry Sewell had spent between June of last year and September $9,000 on office supplies. And, we talk about the economy and how in debt we are. Yet the people that are running this country, they have unlimited pockets. It's like they've got their own personal HP printer and they're just printing money. Mm-hmm. I mean, and when we talk about cutting, when they talk about cutting, they hurt people. They don't ever think about, maybe I can use a big pen instead of, I don't even know an expensive pen. I was a teacher. I mean, my gosh. We had to bring
I'm a talk show host. Let me find my Bic. Okay, Here we go. This is called sensible. This is called running a business the right way. I mean, this is what you do. So in the meantime, she's taking extravagant trips, all this with the squad, Nancy Pelosi and all that bunch, while you have people in your area who don't have sewers.
Yes. Who, when you're riding down the street, you'll see a billboard about drinking more water. And I asked about that. I went, oh, that's a good, healthy thing. And they're like, those are up there because people are afraid to drink the water, and they're trying to encourage them.
Probably with good reason. Good reason.
Oh, yeah. And, and there are places in Birmingham. Like I went to a neighborhood meeting where the people were extremely concerned about their children running back and forth across Green Springs, going to school and from school every day. So they had asked the city and the county commission, the state, Terry Sewell, if they could possibly get a elevated crosswalk. Nothing. And see, I had a child that got run over and killed on Dolphin Island Parkway. I taught inner city Mobile for 10 years. And Tony James, I'll never forget him or his name. And I'm sitting there thinking, what are you going to wait for an accident to happen? You know, that's usually what people do. Instead of being proactive, they react after an accident. So, you know, there are things like that. Like I was in that meeting, and when I repeated that to the people that I was meeting with, they were like, "You were listening?" And I'm like, "Yeah." I said, "Now, here's the way I see it. We can look for grants. We can look for bills that are going through that may finance things like that. And we may not get the exact amount, but if we get enough, then the city and the county and the state can also get money in. But some of these real rural communities that, like when I was in Pickens County a few weeks ago, they were trying to figure out a 10-year rotation to pave all their roads because they don't have the revenue to do it. And I'm like, surely to God, we can find something to help these people get their roads paved. I have a good friend in Choctaw County. He has cerebral palsy. His road is gravel, and they have begged for years for something. And, you know, I'm naming all these issues and problems. And, you know, it's like I said, the federal government can't fix everything, but by golly, that's our money. That is our money. That's our tax money.
You know something, Robin, there are grants available, I know, through the farming community. Through everywhere, all in Alabama, where you can get they call it a high tunnel. And what you can do is extend your growing season. It's called a high tunnel. And now you have to pay for it. But then they'll refund you for that. You get your money back off of this grant. And what'll happen is, especially like anywhere where you're going to have like a winter, you can go ahead and get started with your seeding. You're going to get started with planting. And then you can go further out into, say, December with your tomatoes, which is a wonderful thing. And then what you can do is sell your food at the farmer's market. There are ways that you can get this done. It's through the USDA.
Okay.
So it sounds like you're the person who's in office right now should have been checking on things like this.
Well, and see, that's why I want to set the district up. Not with, you know, you get in office, you have a bunch of congressional offices. They pay $1.5 million for those offices every year in District 7. And I'm like, we're going to have a hub, and we're going to put people in that hub. They may be retired, but they're going to have some expertise in the areas in the Black Belt and in the greater Birmingham area that we need. Small business, agriculture, veterans, teacher. And when somebody calls, I want to have at least 3 people that all they do is write grants. See, that'd
be awesome.
The trade school that I went to a few weeks ago down in Choctaw County, they were told by that person in office, her congressional people, that, well, we send you a list of grants every month. You know, there are millions of dollars in grants that are never written for every year. And instead of telling somebody that, I'm like, it's your job. That's your job to research what's out there. And, David called from Hale County and he's looking for blah, blah, blah. And this might work for that. To me, that's your job. That's why you have a congressional office. You're there, number one, to serve the people that elect you.
Absolutely.
Number 2, you're there to protect. And, you know, I call it the interest of the county and the community. Like a few weeks ago, I'm sorry, I am all over the place today. A few weeks ago, Joe Biden and the Commerce Department thought it would be a good idea to lower the tariffs on fish coming from Vietnam into Mobile Bay. Well, Alabama is number 2 in the nation for catfish farming. And guess where most of those farms are? In the Black Belt. Katie Britt, Tommy Tuberville spoke up. She said nothing. And that's one thing I guarantee you I'll look out for. Those are your
community. I think that those natural resources, nobody has to dig a tunnel for anything. It's already right there in your district. So why not go ahead and take it and run with it? Another thing I thought about too, and this could be for young folks who are thinking about starting their own business, or anybody who's been in business a long time. And these are business incubators. Have a series of business incubators out there in your district. And they'll teach people how to run a business, how to save money. You don't have to start with a Taj Mahal. I mean, business incubators are absolutely awesome. They are wonderful. You can just take an old building and fix it up and then teach classes on how to run a business the successful way. Robin, we've got to go into a commercial break. Man, time flies. Okay, we're going to be back in just a few minutes. Everybody hang in there. More information. Let's also talk with folks when we get back, education on when they go out and vote, because there was someone who was running against you. So we're going to get that.
All right.
We'll be right back in just a minute. We'll be right back.
Twin City Used Car Sales has been serving drivers in the Northeast Alabama area for years with a quality selection of late model used cars, SUVs, and pickup trucks. On top of our extensive selection and competitive prices, we offer professional auto financing services for used car buyers of all credit levels. Whether you've just begun your search or you're ready to secure your next vehicle, at Twin City Used Car Sales, you will drive away with the vehicle of your dreams. The sales and finance staff at Twin City Used Car Sales looks forward to serving you, and you can apply for financing online before your visit to our used dealership in Gadsden, Alabama. Check us out on the web at twincityusedcars.com or go by our location at 901 First Avenue, Gadsden, Alabama. We sincerely look forward to serving you. At Lamone's Mexican Restaurant, located in Henniger, Alabama, and voted Best Mexican Restaurant of DeKalb County, Alabama 2020, we're here to serve you with authentic Mexican cuisine. Order easily online by going to lamonsmex.com or call 256-657-3999 to place your order. We're open Sunday through Thursday, 11 a.m. to 9 p.m. and Friday and Saturday, 11 a.m. to 10 p.m. Whether you're celebrating a cozy date night for two or a celebration for a crowd, at Lamone's you'll love our atmosphere and friendly servers. Thank you for dining with Lamone's Mexican Restaurant. At Liberty Bank, we're all about community. Whether it's to help with a charity fundraiser or help families in need, toys at Christmas, or a local football team, we're here for you. You see, we realize the importance of family. Sometimes it's to build a new home or necessary home repairs. We're here for you. If you like the feel of a small town bank with all the conveniences of a big city bank, we're here to serve you. You will find us at any of our convenient locations in DeKalb, Marshall, Etowah, and Blount counties in North Alabama. You can call and speak with any of our friendly staff at 256-659-2175 or check us out on the web at libertybankal.com. And thank you for your support of our community. Member FDIC Equal Housing Lender.
Good afternoon. We are back. My name is Donna, and I'm your host of Donna's Edge Talk Show. Thank you so much for watching every day, Monday through Friday, from 1 to 3 p.m. Central, as I get to ride home with you in the afternoon. It's always a fun ride. You know, you can find us on television, channel 182 on Charter Communications. That's up in North Alabama. You can also find us on nationwide, worldwide television. That's Abundance Television, found on Roku, Apple TV, and Amazon Fire. Don't forget the podcast, The Newscasters. .com, and also on the radio, icradio.media, where you can also go ahead and download the apps, whether that's for an Apple or an Android phone. You can't get away from us if you tried. You just can't do it. Robin Litaker is with us right now. She's a good friend of mine, and she is running for office, and I wish I was in your district. You better believe I'd be voting for you. Now, let's go ahead and talk with folks, because Election Day is coming up pretty soon. And so there's been a little bit of change to the forum there when folks go in, and talk to us about it.
I had a primary opponent. He spoke with me in person a couple months ago and said he was dropping out of the race before the ballots were printed. I didn't hear anything from him. The ballots were printed. There was an article in a Huntsville paper a couple of weeks ago where he said he was going to drop out, but it hadn't happened. And I actually heard from John Wall, the chair of the Republican Party, yesterday afternoon, that he has officially dropped out. Now, what that means is when you go to vote on March 5th, I still need your vote. I want a good turnout for our campaign. And he will be on the ballot because they were already printed. Now, the difference is his votes will not be certified and mine will. So I am the Republican nominee. I find that hard to believe. I mean, it's, it's, if you grew up like I did, you would never think you had a chance to do something like this. But, I am the Republican nominee for Congress in District 7. So when you go out and vote March 5th, I would love to earn your vote. I tell people I think votes need to be earned, but I can promise you if I get it, I'll keep it. We're gonna do government different. We're going to show people that government can work for them, that you can get in touch with the untouchable, and that I'm going to have people all around me that know more than I do, that know how to listen and know how to dig up help. And we've got some gorgeous communities in the Black Belt and West Jefferson, North Birmingham, that they just need to be revived. And I know it can happen. It's, I don't know. It's like I said, it's a chance of a lifetime. This isn't my campaign. This is our campaign. And, as part of saying we're going to take our country back, I tell people we're going to have an Alabama revival, and it's going to start in District 7. And it's like I said, we're going to show people how government is supposed to be working.
You know, Robin, that's all people want. They're not asking for handouts. They're not asking for this. They want to know that they've got somebody in office who actually cares about their communities and about their area and about them and how successful they can be. Just need encouragement.
The best ideas, and we haven't released a comprehensive plan yet, but the best ideas I'm getting is from just sitting down and talking to people for a couple of hours. I've already gotten some ideas from you today. I've jotted down here.
Well, you're in the heart of it. You're actually in there with your boots on the ground. And I'm going to tell you what, that's what people like. They want their congressperson to have boots on the ground to know what's going on in their area. And if you're off somewhere and you're never there, you don't know what's going on. You don't know how to fix a problem if you don't see it.
Yeah, you don't want someone to come in and throw a check at you. Now, money's always good, don't get me wrong, but just throwing checks at problems and throwing money at problems, that doesn't fix it. You can't fix crime in Birmingham by throwing $1 million at a program that's been around since the 80s. That's not going to fix it. Might help, but how long is it going to help? Now, I taught inner city for 10 years. And, I know how hard parents work and struggle, and they want their kids to have a better life than they had. And I know our country has changed a lot, but I believe that Alabama is still one of those places where parents want the best for their kids. I don't care where they live. And government is supposed to be a servant. You're supposed to be a public servant. It's not the other way around. You're not supposed to be a servant to me. So
let's talk a little bit about schools, because you've got the perfect background for this, because people they don't know how to correct something because they don't know what it's like to teach. There are a lot of good teachers we're losing now because they don't feel like they have control in the classroom. They're spending most of their time babysitting the troublemakers, and in the meantime, the kids who want to learn are not getting a shot at it. They're not getting a fair chance. What can be done? There has to be a solution to this.
Well, one of the things I want to do is close the Department of Education. Now, you hear every politician say, we're going to close the Department of Education, but it never happens. See, that's one of 400 plus agencies, and they all have a head, and they all have people working under them. And when I say that, automatically some people go, but we need that money. Well, I'm not talking about taking the money. I'm talking about changing the flow of the money. Because now, let's say you have $1 that leaves the Department of Education in Washington. Okay, some of it's gone before it leaves because they have to pay those high-powered suits up there. Then it goes to Montgomery, State Department of Education. Then it goes to a bunch of different agencies there. And then it goes to the governor's office. Then it goes to the school district office. And every time that dollar stops, it loses value. And by the time it gets in the classroom, and I know this, I was principal in a Title I school. You're lucky if you have 15 cents or $1 left. But it's not the money. It's the fact that they tell you what you have to do with that money that's left. And last I checked, Miss Suit up in Washington doesn't know anything about how little David or little Sally, what they need in order to learn how to read in Marengo County. So, I want the teacher, the parents, to have that money, and if they need something, have the autonomy to make that decision. Now, I'll tell you, before Common Core, when I was a principal, I had a child, I don't know if I've ever told you this, I had a child that came into school from out of state. He was 3rd grade pre-primer. You know how low pre-primer is? That's below preschool. He couldn't even recognize letters. Well, first of all, he was a behavior problem, 3rd grade. Okay, the kid couldn't read, couldn't recognize numbers. A lot of kids that cut up, I'm not trying to make excuses, but they cut up to cover up, So anyway, I had the autonomy to do with him through teachers what needed to be done. We got him up to the 2nd grade level in math and reading by the end of the year. It can be done that fast. Now, in the eyes of the federal government and the state of Alabama, he was a failure because we had only gotten him up to second grade level and he was a third grader. You see the problem?
Mhm.
We don't measure on growth. We measure on their artificial standards.
Mhm.
And I just know that if you have the flexibility to do what really needs to be done, not, all we are just instruments and their data collecting. That's all, that's all kids are.
Yeah.
If we have the autonomy to do what needs to be done, we can turn District 7 around fairly quickly, because I don't care how much money you throw at stuff. I don't care how many businesses you get to move in. First of all, they don't want to move in if you don't have a good education system. So that's the crown jewel. Yeah, that's the jewel on what needs to be done.
Mm-hmm.
And I truly believe it can be done very quickly. And an example of that is the state of Florida. They did what I'm talking about, something very similar, where they started at the local level, and every school in every school district, instead of going through the State Department, they went from number 36 in the nation to number 3 in a year.
Wow. See, it can be done. It can be done.
Yes. I mean, what's the excuse for kids in our state not learning?
Mm-hmm.
We're not as smart as everybody else? No, that's not it. Our kids are just as smart and just as good and just as capable as anyone else. But the federal government has held us back. And sometimes I think it's on purpose.
Yeah.
And see, that's the kind of thing. I have a fight in me that if you're doing something to someone I'm supposed to be taking care of, you better watch out.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's what parents always knew their kids were safe at school with me when I was a teacher and a principal.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I was supposed to take care of those children, and I did. And I've seen a lot of really bad things come down the line in education. And I know that teachers in this state, if given the opportunity, could rise to the occasion and do just miraculous things with our kids. Now, somebody at home may be going, well, my son had a bad teacher. Yeah, they're bad teachers. They're bad teachers. They're bad doctors. They're bad lawyers. We know that. There's bad in every profession, but the majority of teachers in this state really care, and they want to do a good job.
They do.
They just don't have the opportunity, huh?
Robin, let me ask you a question, and this pertains to everybody gets a trophy. I really think that is one of the failures in the school system, where everybody gets a trophy. Yeah. So people are getting trophies who don't deserve one. And then the people who really have worked hard, I mean, the kids who've worked really hard, it tends to take ambition away from them. Yeah. Do you think that might be a problem? Do you think when you take the ambition away from a child, you're doing more damage in the long run?
Well, because why should I try when you give this kid over here the same recognition?
Not even trying.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. That hurts. I used to do this thing with my kids, that I had a huge train bell in the school. And every time a child would increase a reading level, they could come ring the bell.
Mm-hmm.
Point is, nobody knew who was on what level. And it gave the kids an incentive because everybody wanted to ring that bell. But that was elementary school, and it was, I really didn't look at it as a reward that everybody got to do. It was a motivator, and maybe I'm thinking out loud. There's a big difference between trying to motivate kids to learn and giving them a trophy.
Yeah.
Okay. A trophy, you're equal with everybody else. A motivator shows, I appreciate how hard you're working. And you keep working really hard, and you're going to ring that bell multiple times during the year.
Mm-hmm.
And you see the difference. It's kind of like kids playing t-ball, and everybody gets a trophy. They don't care about that trophy. You know what they care about? The snack that they get at the. Have you ever been to? They're more interested in that snack. I mean, they think that's cool and everything, but they'll put it down and pick up the chips. So I agree with you on that.
And then also, because you have generations and generations of folks who were never taught how to balance a checkbook. They don't understand what a debit and a credit is. For one thing, they see the government wasting all this money, and then things are given to them, so they don't understand that. If we could have workshops, I'm talking about all over the United States, not just where you're at, but everywhere. If we could have workshops that would teach kids, like this is something my granddad did not want to be in debt. I mean, for anything. So back in the 1930s, he bought this farm I'm living on right now. He bought it for $5,000. He needed it, but that's when $5,000 was a lot of money. Yeah. And so he didn't want to be in debt. So he decided, he set himself a goal that he wanted to have this farm paid off in 2 years. Well, he knew he could do it. He just set his mind to it. I'm going to do it. I'm going to get this done. So he held 2 jobs and also had a peanut farm, planted peanuts on the farm. So that helped too. So he said peanuts helped pay this farm. Well, later I went on ahead and bought this farm. I bought my inheritance. So anyway, we bought this a lot more than $5,000, by the way. But my son learned this. So my son gets married. He's living in Raleigh, North Carolina. So he and my daughter in love, I call her. Her name is Larissa. And so they set themselves a goal. They bought a townhouse, 30-year mortgage, which scared me to death but I didn't say anything, that they got to learn from their own mistakes, right? So, but it's a 30-year mortgage. But he said, you know what? I sent him an amortization sheet. It's an amortization where you can do it online. And you can put whatever your mortgage is, whatever your down payment was, whatever your interest rate is. And then there's a little mortgage calculator on there. And if you paid, say, $100 more per month, this amortization mortgage calculator is going to show you how many years you would get it paid off sooner. And it also shows you how much interest that you saved. So they met their goal. They had a goal set for 10 years. They paid it off before their 10th wedding anniversary. And according to the calculator, they saved over $100,000 in interest by not making that mortgage payment for 30 years. If we could have some of those educational classes out there for the kids where they could understand, I don't have to pay just whatever the bill says on my mortgage, or I don't have to pay whatever the credit card says. I don't pay the minimum. I pay as much and do without the fluff for a while until you get this thing straightened out, until you get it paid off. I think we could see some improvements in the economy.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And there's plenty of time during the school day to teach that if you would stop teaching about your hurt feeling or something. Some of the things that they're teaching and they're trying to force implement on children.
Nonsense.
No, this country has been an amazing country for hundreds of years without it. Now, have we made mistakes? Yeah, we sure have. And you know what the big thing about a mistake, you learn from it. You don't have to live with it. You learn from it and move on. Now, if you want to dwell on it, which is what the left is trying to force us to dwell on everything we have ever done wrong. I just also, before we end, if it's okay, I wanted to mention to people, I don't talk about national issues a whole lot when I'm with you, because it's not that I don't take time to do that, and it's not that it's that important, but I want people to know that I am very concerned about what's going on in the district and the businesses and the people. But, we have a federal government that, they're sending billions of dollars to the Ukraine with no accountability at all. Trillions of dollars spent on the pandemic with no trace of what it was spent on. We have, illegal immigrants coming across the border. We give them $2,300 when they come across a free ticket to nowhere. And we don't even know who they are. Yet, if you or I didn't pay our IRS income tax, they'd come after us in a second.
Yes.
So, there's some I'm sorry, my mama said never say stupid, but I'm going to say stupid.
Call it like it is. Call it like it is.
There is just some basic stupidity that we're going to stop. And believe me, I won't embarrass you. I hope every time I stand up in Washington and say something like that makes you a little proud to be from Alabama. I believe in single subject bills. Why would you give the Ukraine more money to defend themselves and you're letting the enemy fly across the border? And that young girl that got killed in Georgia last week, that nursing student killed by an illegal immigrant that had been flagged. I'm sorry, y'all got to go.
Should have never happened. Robin, less than a minute left in this segment. How can folks find you? How can they donate to your page?
I have a WinRed account, which is how a lot of people running for office get money, but I have a campaign Facebook page, Robin Litaker for Congress, Robin Litaker for Alabama. I have two because, they come after conservative people. And the WinRed account is on there. And then I also have a website. It's Robin. I'm sorry, I don't go there often. RobinForAlabama.com. And I would appreciate it if you all would go out March 5th when you're voting for Donald Trump. Please vote for me. I'd appreciate it. And then we're going to get hard work, because come November, we're going to be the big surprise of the evening. We're going to take it for the Republicans, and CNN will be all whiny and everything, and that's fine with me.
They'll lose their minds. The little snowflakes will go to pieces. Robin, thank you so much for being on the show. I'm so glad we're friends. And I'm going to tell you, I highly recommend Robin. You got to get out there and vote.
Thank you
Bye,
so
Robin.
much.
See you later.
Right, bye.
And thank you so much for watching. You are the apple of my eye. I'm so glad that you have you in my audience. I absolutely am. Can't wait to see you again next time. So y'all hang in there, okay? See you again soon.